Fantastic, fantastic, fantastic. All right, cool. So I bought gold today, right? And I entered at 0.05, which is 50p a pip. 50p every time the trade goes up or down, right? Now, this is really important. And I want everyone to really understand this. The middle red line is where I first entered the trade. Once again, let me close this. The middle red line is where I first entered the trade. Yeah? The middle red line, once again, is where I first entered the trade. The bottom red line is where my stop loss is. Stop loss, entry, take profit. If you're with me so far, put number 1 in the chat. If you're with me so far, put number 1 in the chat, but this is where it gets a bit confusing and people lose money that don't know what they're doing. Okay, fantastic. Now, for every single person that can see, my trade is in 40 pips profit, right? If I enter the trade at 0.10, which is £1 a pip, I'll be at £100 plus, right? But because I entered the trade at 0.05, I'm at 40 pips or 38 pips now at the moment, profit. Cool. Now, if you go on MetaTrader 4, underneath where it says XAU USD or underneath where your currency pair is, you're going to see a bunch of numbers. The first numbers you see underneath your currency pair is simply where you entered the trade. Come again. The numbers underneath the currency pair, the first number on your left-hand side is where you first entered the trade. So as everyone can see, I first entered the trade, right, with the middle one around here. Now, my trade, so the white line is showing me where my trade currently is. So now my trade is here. My entry, once again, was around here. My trade is in profit. Now my trade is a buy and it's here. So what will happen is, and I want everyone to get used to doing this. Anytime your trade is in 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 pips profit, move your stop loss into entry. What does that mean? My entry was here. My trade is now here. So my stop loss now goes to where I enter the trade, which is around here. All right? How do I do that? I click on the trade. The first number underneath the currency pair shows where you enter the trade. The numbers where the arrow is pointing is showing you where the trade currently is. So I'm going to click on my trade. I'm going to click modify. I'm going to delete my old stop loss and now put my stop loss where I first entered the trade. 65.46, right? 65.46. Let me do 65.50. This is actually a live account that I'm showing everyone, right? Joseph has a live account. This is a live account. So now my trade is risk-free. If what I made sense so far, put a number 1 in the chat. If what I said made sense so far, put a number 1 in the chat. If you have any questions, please fire away before I continue to the next part, right? It's really, really important for every single person to understand this part. Now, if you can see, my stop loss and my entry is exactly the same. This means I cannot lose a single penny on this trade. I cannot lose a single penny on this trade. If you're with me, put number 1 in the chat so I know you're with me before I continue. If you're with me, put number 1 in the chat so I know you're with me before I continue. I'm going to see some more number 1s because this is really, really, really important information I'm giving everyone. right? Especially for the new people. This is really, really important. This information is vital. Okay, fantastic. Now my trade is risk-free. But let's just say I know I'm going to bed soon. And Jeff always uses this analogy, and I love this analogy. Jeff always says, if you was to go into a bank and you saw $1 million on the floor, would you try and take the whole 1 million, or would you take as much as you can and run? And this is a question. Let me ask everyone. If you found $1 million in the bank, £1 million in the bank right now, would you take as much as possible, or would you try to take the whole million? Me, I would take as much as possible. What would you do? And this is a question. Once again, I want interaction. What would you do? Would you try to take the whole money, or would you take as much as you can and run? Take as much as I can. Fantastic. If you're wise, you should take as much as you can and run. Guys, I need more participation, right? I need more participation for this call. We have 20 people on the call. Take as much as I can. Can't be getting caught trying to take it all. Fantastic. In trading, the reason why people lose money because they get greedy and they want to take everything. If you take £50 a day, £20 a day, £40 a day, you will eventually be wealthy. There's a saying, 20 pips a day keeps the job away. Why? If you do 20 pips at 1.00, that is equal to £200. If you do 20 pips at, right, so 1.00 is simply 10p a pip. £10 a pip. If you do 20 pips, right, at 100 pound a pip, that's 2,000. I want everyone to really understand the importance of what I just said. If you do 20 pips at 1.00, which is £10 a pip, right, that's £200. But if you do 20 pips at £100, so I forgot to put the pips at the lot size, at £100 a pip, that's £2,000 every single day. That's £10,000 a week. That's £40,000 a month. That's £480,000 a year, simply by you catching 20 pips a day. Even if you do 20 pips a day, right, at £10 a lot size, that's £200 a day, £1,000 a week, £4,000 a month, right? £48,000 a year, simply by catching 20 pips a day. If you will be put number one in the chat, because this is vital information. If you're with me so far, put a number one in the group chat. Right, before I show you something else which is really exciting. Right, fantastic. Kemi's with me. Kemi's with me. He's paying attention. He's a money man, paying attention. Right, Tamutsi, she's with me. She's paying attention. Right, this is really important. Like, this is really vital information. In Saudi Saints with me. Right, this is really important. Right now. So, like I said, right, like everyone said, really bullies with me. Right, like everyone said, don't be greedy. Take as much as you can. Now, for example, if you know you're going to be busy, you know your phone might be off, right? And you want to secure partial profit. This is what you do. Now imagine, we're going to go back to the chart. Once again, my entry was here. My stop loss was here. My take profit is here. Now my trade is here. The stop loss is now here. So my trade is risk-free. But what if I said, now my trade might not hit the take profit? And the truth is, not every single trade is going to hit your take profit. This is what you could do, right? And we call this tail trading. You simply use your stop loss to follow the trade. What do I mean? The trade is currently at 1774.73. If I click modify, and I change the trade to 1773, Let's do 1773 or 1772. Now my trade, look at the stop loss. The stop loss is now 1772. So now my trade is only 20 pips away from where the trade is. So my stop loss is only 20 pips away from where the trade currently is. What does this mean? This means that if for whatever reason the trade decides to go back, it's going to stop me right here. Rather than it going all the way down here, where my stop loss originally was, it's now going to stop me right here, which will take me out with money. If you understood that, put number 1 in the chat. If what I said made sense, put a number 1 in the chat so I know you're with me. If what I said made sense, put number 1 in the chat so I know that you're with me. Before I go on to the next phase. Fantastic, right? Fantastic. Very simple stuff, but very important stuff. Please repeat that. Please explain again. Fantastic. This is the whole reason why I want everyone paying attention. Once again, so for those that understand, the trade is now risk-free. Why? Because my stop loss is at 1765.50 and my entry was at 1765.46. Now, if I know I'm going to sleep or I'm going on holiday or I'm traveling or I'm not going to be on my phone and I have a feeling that my trade might not hit the stop loss, take profit, right? Once again, let's do it again. So my trade is currently here, right? My take profit is here. I want everyone to understand the take profit is here, the red line above. The trade is currently here, right? Actually, let me delete that. Let me delete this one. The trade is where the white line is. Can everyone see the white line? If you can see the white line, put number 1 in the chat so I know you're with me. If you can see the white line, put number 1 in the chat so I know that you are with me. Once again, if you can see the trade, the white line, put number 1. Fantastic. Now, if I want to secure some profits, we call this tail trading. What does tail trading means? It simply means I'm following the move of the market. I'm currently following my trade. Why? To make sure I leave some money. So if the trade is currently here and my stop loss is where I enter the trade, which is around here, what I can do is say, rather than me come out the trade with no money, because now the trade is risk-free, I want to come out with at least £30. What do? I move my stop loss closer to where the trade is, right? So how do I know where the trade is? The number next to that, so underneath the currency pair, you're going to see the first number, which is 7565.46. That first number simply means that is where you first enter the trade. Now the number where the arrow is pointing is showing you where the trade currently is, right? So now I know the trade is currently at 1775.27. I click modify, and I'm going to put it 20 pips away. I'm going to put it at 1772. The market has just closed, right? The market's going to open again in 1 hour for the Asian session. So the market always closes every day between 10 p.m. to 11 p.m. and then it opens again for the Asian session, right? But what's going to happen is I'll click modify, and then that means, right, I'm going to show you an example, right? Once again, my stop loss is here. The trade is currently where the white line is. If I want to follow the trade, all I need to do is keep increasing my stop loss closer to the trade. If that makes sense, put number 1 in the chat. If that makes sense, put a number 1 in the chat. All right? Tomosi, does that make sense now? For those that didn't understand, Akimi and Tomosi, does that make sense now? Fantastic, fantastic, fantastic. We're getting somewhere. So the reason why it was that way is because it was a buy. If it was a sell, you'll do the opposite, right? So imagine my take profit is at 1748. My stop loss is at 1789, right? And my entry, imagine I enter the trade at 1782, right? My stop loss is at 17, let me do a stop loss. My stop loss is at 1787. Once again, I want everyone to pay attention, right? Because this was an example for a buy. Now I'm showing you an example for a sell. My entry, 1780. My stop loss, 1788. My take profit, 1747. If you would be put number one in the chat. If you would be fine, continue, put a number one in the group chat. Fantastic, fantastic, fantastic. I want to make sure everyone's with me. I want to make sure everyone's profiting. I want to make sure everyone's making money, because there's a lot of people I know, especially people on my team, that's been losing money, and they're saying, Joseph, I don't get it. Sometimes I watch my trade, it's in £40 profit, £50 profit. And I say to them, are you modifying the trade? And they say, no, I keep forgetting. And I say, that's why you're losing money, right? So this is vital information. This information I'm giving is going to save you so much money. It's going to make you so much money. Okay, cool. So this is now a sell. Once again, this is my stop loss. This is my entry. This is my take profit. Now, my trade goes into profit here. Right? So now my trade's in profit because I'm selling. So when you're selling, you're going down. When you're buying, you're going up. So what I'm going to do, I'll move my stop loss to where I enter the trade, which was here. So now my trade is risk-free. If you're with me, put number one in the chat. If you're with me, put number one in the chat. And if you're confused, ask a question, right? Because all I'm doing now, I'm just doing the opposite. So everyone can understand, I'm simply doing the opposite. But this is really important, especially if you're able to calculate pips, which is something that I'm also going to teach, right? Calculating pips is really important. Okay, so now this is my take profit. Now my trade is in £50 profit. All I'm going to simply do now is follow the stop loss, which is here, to where my trade is, which is here. And that's how you're able to modify your trade, number one, and also tail trade, which is important, number two. Tail trading simply means if the trade decides to go backwards, it will take me out to where I am. So rather than it taking me all the way out here, where my stop loss originally was, because I followed the trade, it's now taking me to where my stop loss is, which is here, with partial profit. Number two, which is really important, right? The market's close, they won't let me do this. There's a way of you actually staying in the trade, but taking some profit. How do you do this? You don't go to modify, sorry. You go to close, right? And then whatever, I just joined and I need some explanation on the subject. All right, well, Frankie, if you just joined, don't worry, Michael. I've recorded this session and I'm going to send the recording right after this call to the group chat, right? I'm making sure that I recorded this and I'm going to send it to the group chat right away. And also, Megan did a presentation on Tuesday. Her training was absolutely phenomenal. And I'm going to get to send the presentation once again, all right? So don't worry, we've got you. All right, cool. So once again, if you want to take partial profit, what do I mean by that? Staying in the trade, but taking some money. So now you're not going to modify, right? And this is really important. And you can only do this when you're doing the trade at 0.2, 0.02, 0.03, 0.04, 0.05 upwards, right? What you simply do, you go to close. And then where your lot size is, you simply do that. And you can see, if you can see, right, every time I decrease my lot size, it says to me, close with profit 31, close with profit 23, close with profit 15, close with profit 7. If you can see that, put number one in the chat. If everyone saw that, put number one in the chat. Number one, number one, number one, number one. This is how you take partial profit. So let's imagine this trade was at £3,000 profit, right? What you should do is take partial profit. How do I do that? I simply click on the trade. I click on close. Don't worry, I'll do the recording for you, definitely. I click on close. My trade, I entered it at 0.05. So it says close with profit 39.37. But if I decrease the lot size to 0.04, it says close with profit 31.50. If I do at 0.03, it says close with profit 23.62. 0.02, it says close with profit 15.75. 0.01, it says close with profit 7.88. Now what will happen, it will take and secure some of the profit and allow the trade to continue running. Can you increase the lot? No, you can only decrease. You cannot increase the lot size in the trade, you can only decrease. Because whilst you're decreasing to take partial profit, you're saying, right? You're decreasing to take partial profit. I hope that makes sense so far. Can you increase the lot size or no, it's just decreasing? You can only decrease, right? Really, really important. Really, really important. What I'm gonna go through on Tuesday with everyone, right? I know it's been an hour now, and I don't want to give you too much because it'll be too much for your minds. What I'm gonna go through on Tuesday is the different types of trades, right? So we have stop loss, sell limit, sell stop, buy stop, and buy limit, right? I'm going to go through that on Tuesday, or if I'm doing a call next week, Thursday. If you understood everything I said, if everything made sense to you, put number 1 in the chat, or if anyone has any questions, you can refer back to the recording, or you can ask me now. Radhika put number 1 in the chat. Fantastic. Radhika's with me. Kemi's with me. Fantastic, fantastic, fantastic. Right? The most important thing is this, everyone, right? And I want everyone to really understand this. If you have people on your call, on your team, and they are not on these calls, they are 100% going to lose money. I cannot stress that enough. 0.01 will make you 20p. 2 £2. 0.01 is 10p a pip. 10p a pip. Please, I need the full recording after. 100%, right? I'm gonna put the recording on the Telegram. How do I calculate the pips? I'm lost. Please help. All right. Well, do you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna do how to calculate the pips on Tuesday, right? You know what? Let me do it quickly. I want everyone to grab a pen and paper. Every single person grab a pen and paper quickly, because I know a lot of people do not know how to calculate pips. If you want to modify, do you change your stop loss to exactly? All you do is change your stop loss to entry, and then you continue to follow the stop loss to where the trade is, Chidima. I'm going to calculate the pips now, everyone. Don't worry, I'm going to do the calculations now, right? I'm going to teach everyone how to calculate the pips now. Has everyone got a pen and paper or pencil paper ready? Because this is really, really important. What I'm going to teach you now is really, really important. How to calculate. How to calculate. If everyone's got a pen and paper and you're ready, put number 1 in the chat, so I can teach everyone how to calculate the pips really, really quickly. Once again, if you can hear me, if everyone's got a pen and paper quickly, I'm going to teach you how to calculate pips. So put a number 1 in the chat if you're with me. Put a number 1 in the chat if you're with me. All right, fantastic, cool. All right, I'm not going to go through too much because we've gone through a lot already. All right, so I want everyone to really, you know what, I want everyone to really, really understand this. And this is really, really important. All right, there's different types of, what do I call it? There's different types of ways you can calculate pips, right? For example, AUD USD, Euro USD, GP USD, USD CAD, USD CHF are like this, right? 1.51000, right? I want everyone to really understand that, right? So 1 point, yes, you have the number there, and then 5 decimal points after. USD JPY is like this, right? Some of them are like 131.100. right? Gold, for example, and other pairs are like 1700.00. And then other currency pairs like AED/JPY is like 74.100. Let me make sure I've covered all the different ways the pairs could be. And then we have we have indices as well. The indices are 5, 10, 0, 0. The indices, for example, 12200.00, right? And then we have cryptocurrency. Let me get cryptocurrency. Did I do the 5 ways? Let me do that as well. 1715.9. There's so many different ways of calculating. 1 minute. 17.9400. 17.940. 900. And then let me look for cryptocurrencies. Let me find a way so you lot can understand how to. Where's the cryptos? 907 points. Yes, that's the same way. Okay, cool. So this is really important, right? This is really, really important. I want everyone to really pay close attention to this. First of all, and I always tell everyone this, find 3 pairs that you're going to study. Find 3 pairs that you're going to study. Because the pairs you study, they'll help you calculate the pips, right? Cool. So, for example, a pair like this that has 1.51000, right? How would you calculate the pips? How would you know the difference in the pips? I'm going to show you. So, if we was to do a trade with GBP USD, all right? It's a trade GBP USD. If I enter the trade, if at 12500, I want everyone to really pay attention. 12500 to 125. $300. How many pips is that, if anyone can guess? How many pips is that? Can anyone guess? I'm leaving for another meeting. Please permit. Thank you. No worries. How many pips is this? Can anyone guess? 125,000 to 125,304. If you with me, give me an answer. If anyone can guess, how many pips is this? 20, close. Very, very close. It's actually 30 pips. This is simply 30 pips. Why? Because the difference between 1.255,000 to 1.25304 is 300. So what you simply do, you move the decimal point, right? So every 100 in a pair like this equals 10 pips. If that makes sense, put number 1 in the chat. Every time in a pair like this, like GBP USD, right? In a pair where the number is 1 point something, 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 every time after the second number after the decimal point, so this number is 1.25, right? Anytime after the second number after the decimal point, we start to count the pips. So every 100 after the second number after the decimal point equals 10 pips. What do I mean? Okay, so I enter the trade at 1.5100. My take profit is at 1.51900. The difference between 100, 51100 to 51900 is 80 pips. So my take profit is 80. My stop loss will be 1 point. Let me show you, so people don't understand. 1.50800, which is 30 pips. 30 pips, proper 30 pips. 100, 0, yeah, 30 pips. Does this make sense? If this makes sense so far, put number 1 in the chat. So the number here, right, the number after, so it's 1.50. The number after the second number after decimal point, if that's making sense at all, what I'm saying, is how you're able to calculate the thingy. It's how you're able to calculate the stop loss. I mean the pips. Let me try and make it easier for everyone to see. Right. So so where the brackets are is where you start to calculate the pips. So every time the number moves by 100, it equals 10 pips. Every time the number moves by 100, it equals 10 pips. Right? A pair like USD JPY is easier to read, right? It's easier to read. Because with this number, with this currency pair, or currency pair like this, the pips is directly, you start to calculate the pips directly after the decimal point. Directly after the decimal point. Let me make sense of it once again. Right, so on a pair like this, this will be, for example, USD JPY. This would be, for example, GBP USD, right? So with USD, if you're with me, put number 1 in the chat, so I know you're still with me. With a pair like USD JPY, GBP JPY, this is, for example, EUR USD, I think GBP NSD and pairs like that, right? USD JPY, GBP JPY, etc. Right? With a pair like this, how you calculate pips is different. So entry, stop loss, take profit. So that's my entry, TP, stop loss. So my stop loss is 30. My take profit is 800. Sorry, 80. Did everyone understand how I calculated that, right? On a pair like this, the second pair, USD JPY or GBP JPY, right? Directly after the decimal point, every time the number goes up by 100, it equals 10 pips. If that makes sense, put number 1 in the chat so I know you're with me. If that makes sense, put number 1 in the chat so I know that you are with me. Right? With a pair like USD JPY, GBP JPY, directly after the decimal point, every time the number goes up by 100, that is how you are able to calculate the pips. Right? That is how you are able to calculate the pips. What I would really encourage everyone to do is this, right? I would really, really encourage everyone to do this. I'm going to go through pips more on Tuesday, right? But what I'd really encourage everyone to do is to do this. Please, how do we get 30 and 20 and not 20? With which one? 1 minute. No, sorry, 20. Sorry, you're right. It's 20. Sorry. My sincere apologies. It's 20. You're right. Sunday, you're right. It's 20 pips. Fantastic, Sunday. Thank you for correcting me. Thank you for correcting me, Sunday. Because 131.00 is 10 pips, then 131.900. Please, how do we get 30? No, you was right. Yeah, Sunday, you was absolutely right. That was my mistake. It's 20 pips. All right. So what I'm gonna do on Tuesday, I'm gonna make sure that either Tuesday or Thursday when I'm next training, I'm gonna make sure I have a presentation ready, and I'll make sure I use my laptop so I can actually do some writings and drawings via the laptop so you can see how you calculate pips, because that's really important. How to calculate pips is really, really important, right? So we're going to end it today. It's been an hour and 20 minutes, and I don't want to take much of everyone's time. Everyone's calling from different zones. Plus, sometimes it's a lot of information to take in at one go, right? So what we're going to do now is I'm going to end the call, but we're going to be back on Tuesday, 9 p.m. I'm going to send the recording to the group chat.